Hello! If you don't know me, my name is Arnel Arcega. I'm one of the healthiest authors and writers on this platform. For this video, I'm going to talk about why rating books is one of the worst things you can do as a reader, simply because of the fact that rating books is completely different to rating a movie, a TV show, or hell, even a video game. Reading books is one of those areas of life in which anyone at any age can do it. When I was younger, my mom taught me how to read books. She gave me the books to read on my own and then sat me down right before going to bed and read to my siblings. This case applied all the way till my late preteens, and when I got to that point, I started to realize reading books by itself is fun. It's a genuinely fun effort, having read one of the biggest books in my life, 1984, when I was only 12. While not one of my favorite stories, I do believe it's something that's changed my life, knowing exactly why I read it in the first place and the importance of reading books compared to consuming something like video games or TV shows. By understanding why we read in the first place, we learn exactly why we score books in the first place. With all kinds of medias like movies, video games, and even music, we tend to score it on different levels based on how we feel. Now, I will be perfectly honest, I do this heavily, especially with music. I personally believe that scoring music is one of the best things you can do for that genre. While it is considered an art form, you can consider that for everything, even video games for that matter. It doesn't matter how it's viewed, it's all about perspective. With that said, I do believe books are one of the few cases in which scoring it, like I did with Catcher in the Rye a year ago, is something that shouldn't be valued. Back in 2024, I scored every book I read. All the books on my corner here were books that I personally scored. And going back to my very first video on this channel, I've learned that scoring books has a whole different meaning, entirely different to what it used to be. And that case of just reading books to eventually score them is not worth it, both for nonfiction and fiction. We always score something out of 10 or out of 5. We have stars for metrics, numbers, and even stats for a certain degree. The Catcher in the Rye, which I read, August 8th, 2024, I gave it a rating an 88 out of 100. Now, I'd probably give it lower, but as a whole, I feel judging a full book by its score is one of the worst things you can do as a reader because of the package. Even though Catcher in the Rye is not one of the biggest books out there, for 232 pages, this is huge. This is a huge book to rate every single little detail upon. And while you could rate a story based on fluidity, longevity, something stupid as hell, understand that books by itself are purposely long, even the shortest ones, like Of Mice and Men. By knowing exactly the structure of a book, we understand why rating it is not the greatest way to go about it. With movies, music, and even video games, there is some specific metric you can go off of. With movies, you can go off of the pace, how well the story is structured. With music, same case. However, with books, there is no exact concrete way to rate it. While it has plot, pace, and structure like everything else, the idea of rating, especially for a fictional novel, is something that I don't believe in. With books, we get the information by learning and reading it. It's a different way to consume the media compared to the music going in our ears and the videos going to our eyes. Books, however, they are not that. They are stories of our own imagination. Therefore, the perspective we get from the words we read, while real, it's all in our head. I've recently learned that how writing works is all about our minds. The perception of our words and the way we view them is easier to view nowadays more than ever before. While I firmly believe constructive criticism is good, to be able to rate 1984 as the greatest book of all time is the stupidest metric I've ever heard, because it's genuinely impossible, for me at least, to give a book a rating. How do you go through a 300-page experience and eventually say, oh yeah, this book's a 3 out of 10? How does that happen? Books, it's so different because the closest piece of media that gets as close to this length is television. But I'm telling you, with books by themselves, there's no apparent reason to form a number, a stat, or even a star for that matter. Authors who write books understand the same feelings that I usually get across with these videos. The book's process to write is just as long, if not longer, than it takes to actively read it. My books, which you can check out the top link of the description, took several months, and the shortest period is currently, with my recent book, The Winning Complex, almost done. But I guarantee, however, my purpose of getting people to read that book is not for the rating. It is for the message and the constructive criticism I'm giving out to the world. While books will forever have a rating going to it, I write for the sake that you can tell a story, which is something different to how movies are shown, to how music is consumed, and even the way we experience video games. There are different levels to these, but with books, remember that it's a group of people, at least one person, and at most 10 people. A book is that. It's the author's perspective of how they view the world. And with fiction especially, this is the case that applies. Same case can fit for nonfiction. One of my books here, Atomic Habits by James Clear, was the final book I actively gave a rating to, which I think it was around an 82. But then I spent my time looking at that score for a week, and I realized, holy shit, that is a terrible way to metric a book, especially for a book as influential as Atomic Habits. It's easy to understand why we don't rate books for a nonfiction level, because of the fact that there's no apparent reason to do so. Books are there for learning and not for specific rating. While ratings are cute and they give a sense of influence, the idea that there is something going on with the book tends to give out a negative input. This whole video was inspired by me finishing Bobby Hall's Supermarket, a book that I've spent only like a few days on, and yet the reception online is one of the worst receptions I've ever seen of a book. And that made me quite depressed, because to me at least, I thought it was great. My least favorite book of all time is Trust Exercise. However, I still stand by the fact that that's still a solid book with genuinely effortless energy. And that's what I want you to take away from this video. Books have the same logic that you should get constructive criticism for. However, the dedication and the time spent on it is why we write in the first place. And this leads into my final point of the video. Ego. Everyone has an ego, but for an audience perspective, we have this fueled kind of feminist mindset that we should be able to score a book because of how it's directed. You know, if you get what I mean, there's just this level of books and reading that needs to be dissected at every single point. And I think that's the worst thing you could do. While I firmly believe dissecting a book for the knowledge you get is great, it's less about focusing on one book and more just getting out everything. If you watched my video on writing tools the other day, know that you should take in all kinds of crafts, and being able to center your ego on any kind of craft is better than scoring it on a number basis. I cannot physically say 1984 is better than The Catcher in the Rye. Even though I firmly believe so, there's no way of comparing these two levels. They were written at different times, made by different authors, and yes, while I can sound like a hypocrite because I do the same with music, music is different because of how it is structured. Books, however, do not follow that structure. They are there to learn. They are there to enhance an experience and to calm you down after a long day. And that's ironic because music does the same. But I still stand by the fact that music can and deserve ratings over books. For now, understand that your ego is what drives the numbers you are making. And with all these kinds of books here, I've used this less as a time to score a book, but rather take in new knowledge with me. Talk to Me by Dean Nelson taught me how to ask better questions. Jurassic Park is one of my all-time fictional pieces that made me more secure of the story I am writing. And books such as Supermarket and An Absolutely Remarkable Thing taught me that anyone can be a writer. There is no apparent reason why you should give a book a number rating if there is something greater to it than just the back cover. I hope you can enjoy today's video and understand that the key to success with all these books is not to score it. No need for stars, no need for numbers, no need for a goddamn whatever the hell metric system you got going on. What I want you to take away to continue reading, continue educating yourself on any kind of topic. If you want to present something, make a cookbook. If you want to tell a superhero story, read a comic book. It's not about scoring, it's all about consuming. Remember to keep on reading and keep on writing. I hope you can use this so you can check out my Instagram down in the link in the description so I can personally help you write your own story. Until next time, however, take care.